Anyone who's asked why The Incredible Hulk isn't on Disney Plus or why it was so complicated to have Spider-Man in a Marvel movie by now knows about the complex world of character rights. While these days we think about the super big value of Marvel character rights, in the pre-Disney, pre-Marvel Studios days, one of the ways that Marvel kept the lights on was to license other properties to produce comics out of them. Notable examples include Star Wars, the Micronauts, and even Godzilla. The properties not set in a galaxy far, far away would end up interacting with the regular Marvel universe, leaving behind an imprint, even when the license goes away, sometimes with a little adjustment. Like, for instance, the MCU's Quantum Realm is the Microverse from Micronauts, de-micronauted. In the early 70s, Marvel wanted to license the hit TV series Kung Fu, a show suspiciously close to the one that Bruce Lee had pitched for himself to star in, but instead they chose David Carradine. Kung Fu was owned by Warner Brothers, who just so happened to also own DC Comics, and didn't feel like selling the rights to the competition. So instead, Marvel bought the rights to English authors Sax Rohmer's iconic and problematic character, Fu Manchu. But Fu Manchu is a notorious bad guy, in more ways than one. And Rohmer's stories lack the essential element of a kung fu master hero at the center of the story. So Bruce Lee was inserted back in. Sort of. A very Bruce Lee-looking character was introduced as Shang Chi, master of kung fu and the son of the villainous Fu Manchu. Rebelling against your parents is a rite of passage for every young person. They're the people you know the best, and they've been trying to raise you to be like them, so naturally the best way to establish your own identity is to do exactly not what your parents do. If your dad has already broke bad so hard he's become the iconic image of an evil scientist, then your only option to rebel is to score points for the good guys. Shang-Chi started out as the son of Fu Manchu and a white American woman specifically selected to create the Optimum Warrior, and then, well, raised him to be the Optimum Warrior, the ultimate assassin. On his first mission as an assassin, he ran into Sir Dennis Leland Smith, who had been trying to stop Fu Manchu's plans. Smith tipped Shang-Chi to Fu Manchu's true nature, illustrating why Fu Manchu should have just tried to make Shang-Chi okay with evil instead of pretending he was the good guy. Finding out his father wasn't a good guy, Shang-Chi joined the good guys, eventually forming Freelance Restorations Limited, a private spy organization. Nothing shady about that. Freelance Restorations was limited mostly to stopping Shang-Chi's ambitious dad, as well as his adopted brother Midnight, and his half-sister Fa Lu Sui, who had her own branch of the Sifan Assassins, which she wanted Shang-Chi to help her make the main branch of the Sifan Assassins, sans Fu Manchu. Shang-Chi managed to finally defeat his father right about the time that Marvel's rights to Fu Manchu wrapped up, and considering that a job well done, Shang-Chi retired from a life of punching and kicking for justice. During his time working out his daddy issues in the Marvel comics, he managed to team up with characters like Iron Fist and White Tiger. If death is barely a barrier for a comeback in comics, retirement is even harder a concept to get to stick. With the Fu Manchu license expired and the character not aging well, Shang-Chi had to play a little game of Who's Your Daddy? After years of Shang-Chi's father being vaguely referred to as an evil mastermind, Ed Brubaker, the writer who brought Bucky back and gave him a new job, revealed that Fu Manchu was just an alias for an immortal Zhang Zhu, and Shang-Chi's half-sister was really named Zhang Baoyu. In the MCU, it looks like there's another surprise in the Mari envelope. This time, Wenwu, aka the Mandarin, is the father. And his sister is Xialing, played by Meng'er Zhang. You thought your family tree was complicated. Right issues cleared up, Shang-Chi was ready to kick and punch his way through the Marvel Universe. He joined a team Daredevil was putting together to capture the Punisher in the hopes that would work out this time, before running into Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, who were operating under the Heroes for Hire shingle. All of that went south when he fell for Tarantula, who was a little more on the violent side of crime fighting, causing Shang-Chi to eventually have to leave to get his chill back. When his pops returned, Shang-Chi enlisted Captain America and his secret Avengers in re-stopping him. During a time when everyone was getting Spider-Man powers except Spider-Man, Shang-Chi stepped in to teach the wall crawler Kung Fu, since his spider sense wasn't available at that moment. Ever the pro, Shang-Chi even developed magnet shoes and gloves so he could develop a style specific to the abilities Peter had left. When Peter got his tingle back, the skills he learned from Shang-Chi just upped his game that much more. I'm sure Scorpion and others were super happy about that. Oh great, I'm sure they said, now he knows Kung Fu too. Shang-Chi would eventually join the Avengers complete with Stark upgraded martial arts weapons before a makeshift team of other Asian American heroes, the Protectors, got recruited by another Marvel character who can relate to having a supervillain dad, Jimmy Woo and his Agent of Atlas. Yeah, I mean that Jimmy Woo. There's much more to his past than an Elliot Ness poster, but that's for another video.